is coming in. Blitz pick up by Montgomery, throws left side, comeback. Robinson the catch, breaks a tackle, 20-15, 10-5, touchdown Bears. Allen Robinson goes the distance. Good rush. They throw as he's hit into the end zone. Touchdown, middle of the end zone. A beautiful throw ball to Anthony Miller, and the Bears have the lead.
Chi-Town feeling good. The Bears are 3-0, or are they, should I ask Stephen A. Quarterback situation. Coach Matt Nagy says it's not week to week. Nick Foles is officially the starter. So what do they do with Mitchell Trubisky? We know they traded the farm to draft him.
Well, you leave him on the bench for right now. I personally was of the opinion that he shouldn't be taken out now. Let him play a little bit longer because I don't trust the durability of Nick Foles. You need him later than early. And my thinking was that's what you do. But you respect the decision nevertheless, considering how awful Mitchell Trubisky lost in that interception that ultimately cost him his job. Enough was enough. They pulled the hook and they brought Nick Foles in. Clearly it was why they acquired him. Clearly it's what they wanted to do all along. So now it is his team, the Chicago Bears, who are undefeated. And I think it's going to help their defense look even that much more formidable. It remains to see how great they are. After all, they beat Detroit, the Giants, and now the Atlanta Falcons, okay? So that's not exactly like they played, you know, all-world teams or anything like that. But they go from here. We know what they were a couple of years ago because that defense was no joke. We know that Mitchell Trubisky has the ability to demoralize you. And here's where I feel sorry for him. I think the problem with Mitchell Trubisky more than anything else is that he was picked up early. They traded up to get him.
Yeah.
They passed on Patrick Mahomes. They passed on Deshaun Watson. Literally traded up and passed on those two quarterbacks to grab Mitchell Trubisky. So I think Mitchell Trubisky sits around, and I think he knows. I remember, and I was told this story before, too. I wasn't there. I was told this story. He showed up at the United Center for a Chicago Bulls basketball game after he was drafted.
Don't do that.
And they booed the hell out of him before he ever played the game. So he's the kind of guy that you could get in his head because his entire rookie year and beyond, people were talking about how he still remembered how he was treated, how he was booed, and how he felt this overwhelming feel and need to really, really look at these guys and say, hey, give me a chance. I can do it for you. And I think that's neutralizing.
Okay, what should they do with Mitch Trubisky? Mitch Trubisky's on the bench now. That's what he is. He's a backup quarterback now, and that's the level he actually looks like to me. He looks like an athletic backup quarterback. It is difficult to tell earlier in these guys' career who's going to pan out, right? Like you take Trubisky, you take Josh Allen, you take Lamar Jackson, to one extent or another, versions of each other. And Lamar Jackson's been amazing so far. Josh Allen has been ascending and looks great this year. Trubisky didn't work out because it comes down to who can be accurate down the field unless you have some absurd next level gear like Lamar Jackson does with his legs. And even then, he's been fairly accurate. You know, for his age, very accurate. That has not been Trubisky. He's not good enough. But he looks good. He can outrun a linebacker, and he can throw the ball. He looks good enough to back up. Now let's look at Nick Foles. You're absolutely right, Stephen A. The injury history with Nick Foles, and it's the same thing, the shoulder and the clavicle constantly, right? Well, they play a full contact sport and then some. And so you have a good backup quarterback now in Mitch Trubisky, and you have an excellent starter in Nick Foles. Whenever he's had the coaching, he has been nothing short of excellent. 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions under Chip Kelly with the Eagles, a Super Bowl MVP when he got back to the Eagles. He was great at Arizona in college. They have a real injury-prone quarterback and a nice backup now.
And I know how you feel about Nick Foles, but I want to ask a guy who catches passes from both of these guys and help make the Bears be unbeaten right now. There he is, star receiver Allen Robinson of the Chicago Bears. Allen, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
How y'all doing? Thanks for having me.
Good to have you with us. All right, a lot to dive into. We want to start here with the quarterback situation, obviously making the change over the last 24 hours. How are you feeling about the change as a pass catcher, knowing that you're now catching passes from Nick Foles?
Well, going into training camp, Coach made the decision, coming out of training camp as far as who's going to be the starter. So for us, we believe in Coach Nagy. We always have, so whatever decision he make, as a team, we support it. We're going to rock with it. We're going to make best of the situation. Again, we started 2 games down, in the fourth quarter, man, but to pull those out. And, right now we're sitting at 3-0. So we're just trying to continue to get better each and every week, man, and try to make this offense go.
You know what? We look at the team. First of all, appreciate you being on the show, bro. We look at this team right now. You're 3-0. Obviously, everybody believes in the defense. but y'all struggled a little bit last year, and we know that Trubisky was in the eye of the storm in that regard. So much was made. Was that overblown? Is that overblown? Or is it something that no longer is a concern for y'all because it's Nick Foles and we're moving on up from here?
You know, at the end of the day, it's never on one person, you know, no matter what the circumstances are. You know, it's always plays that we leave out there as a unit, you know, up front, O-line, receivers, backs, and all that, you know. So, again, throughout this whole course of this offseason, we've been trying to, you know what I'm saying, reconfine and re-energize this offense and figure out how we can be the best that we can be. You know, so right now, you know, Nick came into the game last week. You know, we were able to make some plays. We were able to push the ball down the field a little bit, you know, and then Coach came out and made that decision, you know, and this week we're trying to just pick up where we left off at.
But in terms of the athlete eyeball test, you know, you hear players talk about other players, that guy's a baller, that guy's not. And I understand your kind of team-oriented answers. But the Bears have had the worst luck trying to draft and develop quarterbacks. My whole lifetime, I'm 47. They never seem to get that right. And in Nick Foles, you have a guy who some people see as just, he has this special ability in crunch time. But I see a dude who balled at Arizona, who balled with the Eagles, who balled with the Eagles again when he had a chance. I think he's actually a really good player. What does your kind of athlete eyeball test say about Nick Foles as a quarterback?
You know, he's a Super Bowl winner. You know, I think that's the biggest thing. You know, and I think the plays that you've seen him make, you know, throughout the course of his career, like you're saying, you know, in big games, in big moments, you know, I think that's what, you know, makes him him. You know, again, he's never afraid at any moment at all. You know, he doesn't fear a defense. He doesn't fear anything. You know, when he come in there, he's running the show. You know, and again, I think that's what makes him special.
Alan, let me ask you this. A lot's been made about your contract situation. I know you're playing in the final year of your deal. Where do things stand with getting a new deal done for you?
You know, things stand, you know, as far as, I mean, I don't have a deal right now, but at the end of the day, you know, for me, I'm just trying to ball. You know, that's what the most important thing for me, you know, is just continue to play well, you know, lead this team, be the best receiver I could be, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, keep making plays and then whatever happens, happen.
Man, I don't have no questions for you. All I got is a statement. Keep that attitude and keep doing what you're doing. Get your money. Get your money.
I appreciate that.
Got no damn question. Get that man his money. Pay him.
The NFC North got now more interesting with the addition of Nick Foles to me with you guys, because you've had a defense and you've had some interesting pieces, and people were even whispering the Bears might represent the NFC a couple years ago in the Super Bowl, and then Nick Foles got to Soldier Field and did his thing and elevated them. Considering the way the Packers are playing, the Vikings have started out slow, but you could see on paper they got a good team. What are your thoughts about your division right now?
You know, first and foremost, you know, on my team is that I don't think that the confidence in ourselves have never wavered. You know, again, I mean, the last 2 seasons prior to this year, we had 120 games. We know that we got the players in the locker room, you know, to get to the playoffs, to win our division. And we know we have that, you know, and then this year starting off 3-0, you know, we want to just continue to do, you know, what we do. But at the end of the day, you know, the most important thing for us is to win the division, you know, and we feel like we can do that. You know, again, we've done that before 2 years ago, and we feel like we could do it again.
All right, looking forward to watching you guys against the Colts. That should be interesting. Phillip Rivers trying to make it 4-0. Allen Robinson, thank you for the time today, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much. All right, I want to stay with this subject, guys. Tell me this. Obviously, we keep saying the record. Bears are 3-0. We got a bunch of teams that are like your Steelers, Stephen A. Are you buying this team, though, to actually make a run and do something?
I'm buying them because I think that Minnesota has struggled. I think we've learned a lot more about Kirk Cousins. I think that we look at Matt Patricia, and I know they just won a game, but the bottom line is we don't believe in the Detroit Lions. We just don't. I mean, they're perpetual losers, and he hasn't changed that mantra about them at all. When it comes down to Chicago, the weather's going to get uglier and nastier. And as a result, you're not going to see prolific offenses coming into Soldier Field. Crowd or no crowd, it's going to be about that defense. And I think if you have a quarterback that's capable of making plays for you and keeping you in the game by minimizing the mistakes, I think that makes Chicago formidable, particularly as the season wanes and inclement weather sort of invades the National Football League. That's why I believe that they're going to, their defense and the fact that they're not going to have a mistake-prone offense, I think the combination of the two things helps them.
If it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers showing that he's still Aaron Rodgers, I would like the Bears now that they have Foles. What I asked Allen Robinson, I'll go back to that. If you took the Bears a couple years ago, when Nick Foles beat them on the road. Remember, the Eagles weren't going to make the playoffs. Then Carson Wentz gets hurt. And then Nick Foles galvanizes, as you always say, the team. They make the playoffs. They go to Soldier Field. The Bears are one of the favorites come out of the NFC and beat them. And then they go to New Orleans and almost beat the Saints, right? If you put Nick Foles on that Bears team, maybe they do make the Super Bowl that year. So I like the Bears a lot with Nick Foles at quarterback right now. I think the real question, as Stephen A. pointed out yesterday and today, will he physically hold up till the end of the season?
That's
Ideally, this happens in week 10 or week 12.
That's why
No question.
I viewed Nick Foles as coming in after week 9 or 10
saving
and
the day.
taking over. I think this is entirely too early for him from a durability
That
standpoint.
shoulder
They'll
and
play in the majority
clavicle
of
are
the
the
season.
issue.
Listen, we talked about Trubisky potentially being in Patrick Mahomes' shadow, getting drafted ahead of him. Lamar Jackson, we asked everyone at home, is Lamar Jackson always going to be in Patrick Mahomes' shadow? 75% of you said absolutely yes. Where are you on that?
Well, first of
Stephen A?
all, I think that for once the poll is absolutely right, but I think it's important to highlight why. Because he's getting his butt kicked by Patrick Mahomes. That's the reason. If Patrick Mahomes was just doing what he was doing elsewhere and Lamar Jackson was doing what he's doing, then we would be clamoring for both to give us a collision course. After what we saw last night and hearkening back to the previous 2 meetings, it is clear that Patrick Mahomes is on a level that Lamar Jackson is simply not on. We literally went from talking about an MVP candidate to wanting to wrap our arms around him and say, kid, it's going to be okay. That's how bad it was for Lamar Jackson last night. And when it's that bad, clearly, there's just a different stratosphere. We can sit up there and say Patrick Mahomes is better. Patrick Mahomes better than Russell Wilson. Patrick Mahomes better than Aaron Rodgers. But we ain't going to sit up there and go like this, damn, let's wrap our arms around them. We feel sorry for them. Because we know what those brothers could do. We still have questions about Lamar Jackson throwing the football, and that's a problem.
Yes, Lamar Jackson's in Patrick Mahomes' shadow because we're all in Patrick Mahomes' shadow. It's his world, right? And in a way, it's a compliment to Lamar Jackson. What we're saying is of all the young quarterbacks in that conference, you're the next best guy. So you're going to be the guy who's most often compared to him. It's like being Dominique Wilkins once upon a time. Great, spectacular player, happened to play in the Michael Jordan era. That's who you're being compared
Max,
to.
I got to tell you something, man. I want to say this to you before we go off the air. Patrick Mahomes is that dude. He's the man. He's number one. But I don't view Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers in his shadow. I view them on his heels. They're coming too. And that's what I think we need to pay attention to as we watch the NFC. Because let me tell you something. Let's say, for example, hypothetically, I'll leave you with this note. What if they met in the Super Bowl? And what if Patrick Mahomes struggled for 3 quarters again? I'm sorry, this ain't Jimmy Garoppolo as his opposing quarterback.
If it's Aaron Rodgers,
that would be Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson.
I'll say this.
Aaron Rodgers
Can't ignore that.
Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson's great. But especially if it's Rodgers, if Patrick Mahomes struggled through 3 quarters against the Packers, and now you're giving Aaron Rodgers chances, it's a wrap.
And that's why I said shadow, not applicable to them. Everybody else, but not Russell Wilson, not Aaron Rodgers. They're on his heels. He's the man, but they're on his heels. They're not in the shadows. They're right there.
They're right there.
They're right there.
But he's the lead dude.
Sure, but
He's
they're
the
right there.
#1 guy.
They're right there. They're the ones
But
saying we want our shot at the crown.
Lamar's in his generation.
I know that, but they ain't going away
But
quiet.
tables have turned, basically. Now they're nipping at his
They want their shot at the crown.
No, and they're going to get it.
As for the Ravens, they'll play the Patriots, Cowboys. That'll be interesting to see how they hang with those boys. Bye, I'll see you tomorrow.
Here's the good news. We've got a lot of great quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yes, lots and lots.
That kind of debate we'll take.
Yes, indeed. Hey, welcome to Sports Center. Back alongside Hannah Storm, I'm Jay Harris.
And this was perhaps inevitable after an eventful first couple weeks in the NFL, but COVID-19 causing perhaps some serious issues for as many as 4 teams. That's coming up on Sports Center.
This is Sports Center.